Hey, if you've got this part of the video, you've got the live unedited edition. Home Gadget Geeks, Thursday night. It's the 30th of September or September 30th, depending where in the world you live. And it is 8 p.m. in the Central Time Zone. If you've got it any other time than this, you've got the recorded version. And that's okay. We're going to get started here in just 1 minute. And we appreciate you coming out tonight. If you are in the chat room, let us know you're out there. I see a few of you. I see Brian and Ken checking in. We'll give it a few more minutes as folks kind of stumble in from their Thursday nights. It is International Podcast Day, so happy International Podcast Day. I think they're 6 or 7 years into it at this point, so congratulations to those guys and all the podcasters who make this thing work. We get started here in just a moment. Aaron, what are you drinking? I did see a drink. What do you got?
I have a little sparkling wine.
Oh, nice. Good call. Good call. Mike, what about you? You grabbed the beer?
Some nice cold Coors Light. Keeping it
Very
classy.
nicely done. Nicely done. And I'm doing water because that's all my stomach can take at the moment is water. I don't know what's going. I was telling Aaron in pre-show, I've been doing some intermittent fasting, and I've had great success, but it's changed the way I eat food. And now things that I used to just crush, like pizza or burgers, fries, that kind of stuff, the body is like, sorry, bud, out of here, and I get halfway through a burger now, and I'm like,
That's probably a good thing, though. Right?
I think so. Yeah.
I was like, I really want the good stuff from here on out.
Yeah, it's been good. Well, even beer. This is the crazy thing is like right now the thought of it's not appealing to me at all.
Yeah.
Now maybe a Bud Light because it's just water, but I mean I just am not feeling it. So, which is good. I've lost a bunch of weight. That was the whole intent of it, and maybe to eat a little bit better too. 53, I should probably eat a little bit. I eat like a 7-year-old. Chicken nuggets.
I was gonna say dino nuggies and French fries.
Yeah. Oh, I love me some McDonald's nuggets.
Like, who doesn't?
They're not real, but you just want to eat them, right?
As long as you have good sauce on them,
Yeah. All right, guys, thanks for checking in. We got a full show tonight. We got a lot of stuff from Aaron, and let's just get this thing going here. I think we're a few minutes after. Looks like everything's good. Okay, let me do this thing. This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geeks show number 506, recorded on September 30th, 2021. Here on Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all the favorite tech gadgets that find their way into your home. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation. A lot of conversation tonight, all for the average tech guy and gal. I am your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the Average Guy.tv studios here. Mike, thunderstorms last night rolled through. They woke up it felt like they were right here, where it almost feels like spring, but it's fall. It's pretty great. Welcome to fall weather, right?
I love it. Yep, heading down to the Husker game this Saturday, and I love that perfect when it gets this type of weather. I love like football, that nice cool spring kind of temperatures, but it's fall, which is nice. I love it.
It's supposed to be played outside in the cold. Aaron Lawrence is with us. She's back. She's north of us. Aaron, is it winter? Have you gotten snow already yet?
It's always winter here, but no snow yet. It's actually, we had a little cold stretch right at the beginning of September, and it's now kind of leveled off to be a beautiful autumn for a change.
Have you guys had any trouble with the fires, and are you in that kind of zone? Has that been affecting you at all?
Yeah, it was actually a really bad summer for fires. And if the fires weren't burning in Alberta in the west, they were burning in BC, and the smoke was blowing across, or elsewhere in the States and then blowing north. So we had quite a few, I don't know if we call them now just smoky days, where we never used to before. We had quite a few this year.
Yeah. And of course, you're breathing that in, you smell like a campfire all day, scratchy throat and all those things. So hopefully, I'm hoping we'll get some better weather on the West Coast of both Canada and the United States, put some of those fires out, and we can get back to some better weather for you. Well, Aaron, thanks for coming tonight. I'll remind you that if you want to get a hold of the show notes, head out to theaverageguy.tv/HGG506 for this one. Big thanks to Ross Brand, who joined us last week and brought a lot of information about writing and self-publishing a book. And so if you had missed that one and you're crazy enough that you want to write a book, Erin, have you written a book? You got a book in you? Are you thinking about writing one? Any of those things?
I think I could write a book. There's probably a book in me somewhere. I did write a play once, like a whole play from start to finish.
Nice.
Never been performed, but I wrote it.
What sparked that? There's got to be a backstory to why you wrote a play.
Let me see if I can make a long and very weird story short. A friend of mine is we were down by the river.
Yeah.
She's a playwright, and she is a great champion of women who write and women expressing themselves. So she knew we used to work together, and she knew my father used to be a soldier in Korea, and challenged me as a bit of a project for Remembrance Day up here in Canada to put my father's story into action, to basically try and tell his story of what he experienced in Korea into something that could be, more widely shared. So yeah, it was a really cool challenge. It's a pretty cool story. I'm biased, obviously, but and it was a really neat experience writing something like a play, which I've absolutely never done before. So yeah, it was cool. Like I said, it hasn't been performed. I don't know that anybody would ever want to perform it, but it was a really cool experience just to take part in.
Maybe we need to do a Home Gadget Geeks reading of it.
A table read.
A table read. And
there we go.
I'm sure it's got a couple acts that we could do, over.
There are,
yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, you never know. So my dad fought in Korea as well.
Oh, okay.
He was part of that as well. And so I don't know. That's all of a sudden I'm like, oh, that sounds kind of interesting.
Well, maybe I'll have to send it to you one day.
We'll have to look at. Well, big thanks to Ross. He wrote and published his own book and got it on Amazon. So if you're ever thinking about it and you want to know all the things not to do, the last episode would be he says, hey, I made some mistakes in doing this and learned a lot. So you can go back and watch that as well. I mentioned it in the pre-show. Happy International Podcast Day today. I think 6 or 7 years we've been celebrating this, and it lands on today. So for all the podcasters that are out there doing this each and every week or every month or every day or whatever they're doing at whatever frequency, happy International Podcast Day. And then stay around. If you're listening live, stay around. Or if you listen to the recording, you might want to go out to the live page or get on Patreon. In the post show, I've actually have some content scheduled for this. So I have a couple new cameras, a couple new webcams that I've been testing. I've been wanting better video. So we're going to do a live demo of some of those and what they look like. Sammy has a brand new iPhone. I'm not going to talk about it very much, but we'll talk a little bit about it she got the 13 today that's out. And Jim's had some issues with his internet. So that'll be coming up in the post show. I'll catch you guys up. If you've been watching the video, how bad it's been over the last couple weeks, and getting Cox to actually do something about it has been a little bit of a chore. I mentioned this early on. Erin Lawrence is with us and she's back. Erin, you are our favorite podcast host guest of all time. I'm just going to declare it. Welcome back to Home Gadget Geeks.
Thank you guys for having me back. Tell me you don't say that to all of your podcasts.
I don't say it to any of them. I don't even say it to Mike. I don't even really like Mike. Let's just be clear. He just shows up.
I'm just here. Apparently,
I try to be mean to him. So he'll stop showing up. But I don't.
Mike seems like the water off a duck's back kind of thing. It's like he'll hear you out and then he'll just kind of shake his head and move on with his day.
Oh, for sure.
Exactly
that implies that I heard him, whatever he said. Sometimes I'm not even listening. So
yeah, sometimes I'm like, what do you think, Mike? I don't know.
1 second, I need to take a drink of beer.
That's right. Erin, I want to get started right off the bat with some coffee. And I'm a big coffee fan. The pandemic changed the way I consume coffee. I started perking it on an everyday basis. Yeah, so fresh. Would grind it, and perk it every day. I worked on different timing. I used my Amazon device for a perk time and then a brew time, and that so then she'll tell me, hey, go. I wish I had an oven I could set to the to the Wi-Fi, because I'd have kind of a recipe for making the coffee now. And a couple of years ago, and actually more, maybe like 6 years ago, Sarah bought me an Nespresso. And I think you've been on your site, you've been kind of working through that. you know, when that product first came out, I think it was advertised by Danny DeVito and George Clooney, and it was kind of cheesy, and I was like, it just didn't appeal to me at all, right? When I started doing Ask the Podcast Coach with Dave Jackson on Saturday mornings, I would bring coffee down here, and I'd actually bring two grande size cups like this down here with me because it was a long show and I needed a lot of coffee. Sarah bought me an espresso in theory to make coffee down here during the show, but those things they're not that loud. Mike, you've got one too, right?
Yeah, they are loud.
They're pretty loud.
For some reason, that machine makes my dog so angry. Like my dog comes over and just freaks out whenever we use an espresso. I don't know if it's some pitch that the thing's making as it's spinning, but it drives him up a wall. And he's
the older ones have a buzz to it, don't they? Like a buzzing sound.
That might be. I mean, mine buzzes. Mine is loud. It's like you can hear the roar and it kind of buzzes. Yeah.
Well, they spin. First of all, when they're making the coffee, they put a little water in, moisten the grounds first, and then they spin the actual. You can kind of see. We're showing a picture here. They spin those cups in there. They actually, the technology. They actually have some like a barcode scanner on each one of the cups on the top. Do they have those? I only have the new, the newer ones, Aaron. Do the older cups have that same thing on them? They don't. Okay.
So you're talking about the Virtuo, which is the one it uses centrifugal force, and it's got they're a little fatter and wider and shorter cups. Those are newer. Those are within the last few years. But the original pods are the other ones that you're talking about. And that was kind of one of the reasons why I started reviewing all these Nespresso machines, is because I had heard about them and I knew people that had them. And I thought, well, what am I supposed to get? The original or the Virtuo? And, the Virtuo is kind of marketed as this better product. And, it's got the technology in it because it's got these barcodes on the underside of the little pods. And so that was kind of where I started this little Nespresso journey, was trying to figure out, well, which one should I try first? I don't even know.
Yeah. And I started right on the Virtuo line. She got me for Christmas, I think, one of those. And they were like $99, not terribly expensive at the time. They may be a little more expensive now. I haven't priced them out. But again, the idea was I could make the coffee down here at my desk, but they're so loud. There's no way I was going to be able to make it during the show. But they really do. This was a company, Nespresso was a company started by a bunch of coffee snobs who really wanted to figure out a better way. I think in maybe even in a reaction to the Keurig, the popularity of the Keurigs, of how do we make coffee that is still kind of instant, but how do we make it a lot better? And so when you compared the two, I'm super interested in the answer because I don't know it. When you compared the two, do they taste different? Are there differences between the two as we think about, because you can still buy both kinds, right? Both
yes, you can. Both machines are out there. Both pods are out there. And in the testing that I did, I mean, there's so many different coffees available in both formats. I didn't find one coffee's format to be better than the other. I think there's something in the marketing of the newer Virtuo machines where they do say, it's a bit better coffee. It's more maybe single origin or what have you. But I mean, I've tried probably almost every roast from the Nespresso original line, and I probably tried about 12 or 14 of the Virtuo line. There's some you're going to like, and there's some you're not going to like. So for me, the coffees were kind of even. Like, you're going to go through them all and try them, pick out your favorites, and those are the ones that you're going to order time and again. So on that side, it's kind of all the same. Sorry to break it to you.
No. That's good to know. I mean, so as you think about, if I wanted to kind of upgrade my coffee, and this is really a cup at a time. This is the great thing. Like when I'm making perk, I'm making 3 or 4 cups of coffee, right? And this, I can just throw one in, pop it in, it spins, spits it out, and I'm on my way. 7.7 ounces is kind of the size that I prefer. But the cool thing is on the Virtual ones, it tells the coffee maker how much water to dispense. So kind of based if you want an espresso shot, they've got really dark and stormy, and then they have some blonde and light mixes as well. And that barcode kind of tells the machine what to do. It's pretty cool that way.
Yeah, it does take the guesswork out of it. And for that reason, some people might like it. But the flip side of that is if you're in the mood for an espresso and all the pods you have are for a full size 7 or 8 ounce coffee, what do?
Right.
The Tech Gadgets Canada answer is, well, you can reprogram the machine, or there's sort of a certain button sequence you can actually push and it'll just dispense however much you want.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's meant to be that set it and forget it thing. You put in the pod, you buy the pods that you want for the coffee that you're going to drink, and then let the machine do the work. You're not supposed to muck with it, but I did.
Did you find that was helpful, or was it just sticking with because I haven't messed with it and haven't wanted to mess with it, and that's seems kind of weird that I'm a tech guy. I always kind of mess with everything, but it works so well. I've just kind of left it, let it do its own thing. When you kind of altered the formula, at least as far as how much water comes out, did you get a better result, or would you stick with the regular?
No, you'd probably want to stick with what's meant to be. So if you've got a bigger 8 ounce coffee and you try to just extract it as an espresso, it's probably going to be too strong. So, I mean, you can, it doesn't mean you should. And again, back to that whole thing that, you know, they want you to do this in a certain way, and they portion the cups in a certain way so that you're not, you know, it's exactly the right amount of coffee for the exact right amount of water that the machine is going to dispense for you. So
I'm always actually scared to make any changes because I have the Nespresso with just the single button on the top, right? And I'm coming from Keurig, where you could easily just say, hey, like with the same pod, just make me a travel size mug or make me a small cup. And that's my biggest gripe about it sometimes is it makes such good coffee. But when I have my travel mug, I'm like, I don't care. Just pump some more water in there. Just give me more liquid in the cup. But there's a sequence on the buttons. One, adjust your preference, and it kind of saves it from my understanding.
Yes.
It's kind of like, hey, this is now your new preset. And I'm always scared that I'm going to like dispense more for a travel mug. And then I'm going to go back to my regular morning coffee mug and it's going to overflow. So I've never messed with it. I just need to read the directions because I know it's either tap once or tap and hold just for a one-time dispense me a little bit more coffee into my travel mug, which it's one of those, I'm like, I can't remember which one it was. Is it short press? Is it long press?
Exactly. I put those instructions on the blog if folks out there do have this issue as to how to reprogram it permanently or temporarily adjust it. techgadgetscanada.com, just search Nespresso, and I've got both sets of instructions there because I tried that and I wanted to know what it was going to do. And I also include the reset sequence in case you do screw it up, Mike.
I am going to save this article right now.
and Mike, have you cleaned it yet? Have you put it on self-cleaning? I think it's 3. You got to do it 3 times within 5 seconds.
I've done that once. My sister came over there. My sister is like the coffeeiest of coffee people. And she's like, oh, you need to like, here, I'm going to bring you over some of the solution. And this is what you need to do. Because she's like, this is, she goes, it's still good. She goes, but it's not, you need to keep this thing pristine. And so I'm like, okay, whatever you say. I kind of just default to her. She's great. And she moved back to Omaha from Minnesota. So now she just lives up the street. So I'm like, hey, come help me do that thing that you do with an espresso where you clean it really good.
Aaron, in the work, did you find a style, they have single coffees from different countries, Colombia, Mexico, right? They have different flavors. They have like chocolate fudge. They have like, I saw pumpkin spice, right? They got some of those. They've got just straight espresso, straight coffee, if you want it that way. In all the work, did you find a favorite go-to that you were like, yeah, this could be my daily driver?
Yeah, I've got about half a dozen that I rotate through. I kind of have them on regular order, and I just found 2 new ones. One is called Café de Cuba, and the other one is Congo. And those are 2 of the newer ones that I've tried that I'm like, oh, these might have to go into the rotation.
The Cuba one's really good.
Mm-hmm.
I've been kind of testing Colombia and Mexico, and I thought I won't be able to tell the difference, and man, I really could. Like, it's going back and forth every other day, and kind of been like, okay, I remember this, and Mexico's got a little, it's got a little more flavor to it. It's a little more bite. It's kind of a little more bitter, which matches my personality. So I thought, okay, that's I really like that one. And then Colombia was a little smoother, not as much not as many interesting flavors going on in it. You know,
yeah.
it's just
Colombia is on my list, but I've not tried the
coffee.
Mexico, so I'm going to add it.
Yeah, Mexico would be a good one to do. But I had been, you know, I picked a couple coffees early on, Mike. I'm going to ask you what you did, but I picked a couple coffees early on. I used to make my lattes with it. So they have an and I always want to say Nespresso. They have an espresso pod that you can get that'll pump out a couple ounces for you and do it that way. So if you want really thick, dark coffee, but then I froth, and we'll talk about that here, Aaron, in a second, because some of these have frothers. The one I have does not. And so for maybe 2 years, I made a latte every day off those things and rarely made coffee. Since I've started the intermittent fasting, milk has become very difficult for me. Like I this is something I didn't expect. I was like, oh yeah, man, milk is a gut bomb now. I can't really do that. In fact, I've gone to lactose free milk. My daughter drinks that. It froths really well. Like I think that
it does.
It froths really well. If you haven't tried that, and it's been better for me. But I'm drinking less. I'm drinking maybe a latte maybe once a week. And I'm drinking the single serves, you know, so as I'm brewing my coffee in the morning, I'm making an espresso first to be drinking while I'm waiting for the perk to get ready. And then I drink the perk all morning. I'm drinking 4 cups of coffee every single day. Oh yeah.
All right.
Yeah. But Mike,
hey,
what
that's
do you
me. Espresso before my coffee?
Yeah.
I have the espresso while the coffee brews. Absolutely.
It's a jump start. It's a great way to get it. It's a great way to get the morning started. Mike, what are you doing?
Yeah, so we've tried a lot of them and we like them all. Actually, there's only one flavor that my wife and I both agree we're like, oh, just not that great. It's anything chocolate flavored from them we have not enjoyed. I don't know why. It hasn't. And my wife loves like mochas and stuff like that. So I was surprised she didn't like it, but we both agreed that wasn't our thing. Our go-to is they have a dark roast variety pack with Intensio, Stormio, and there's one other in there, right? There's like a blue, brown, whatever. And we just like those. And they're dark, but they're not too dark. It's the darkest they make, but that is our go-to. That's on reorder. And then every time we go to reorder, we'll add one in. It's the that capsule dark roast pack right there. So that's our go-to. And then we'll add a Virtuoso, right? Is that the other one that I'm seeing? I think so. Yep. And then we'll always add in one like the Cuba or the Mexico, and man, those are always delicious. But they always go way too fast because we always end up going through those before we end up going through all of our regulars. We don't though. So like we're not like this is the one machine. Like we used to have just the regular coffee maker and makes a pot and stuff like that. But ever since we've gone down to just this, and I've yet to determine how much more we're paying in coffee or less, right? Because we would always be dumping some of that pot out. And this really does just allow us to make, the one or one more cup. I don't have any problem using 2 or 3 pods a day if I really need it to. But I think it saves us a little bit, and we only order what we really need.
Well, and it's fresh, right? Like that's the other big thing that Nespresso really gets on you about is that you don't have coffee going stale in the cupboard or in the package or wherever you're going to stash it.
We do. Yeah. And I need to figure out a better solution. So we actually just went camping and I took a percolator, but I think I did learn that the cheapest of cheap percolators isn't quite the best. The heat control, that thing is either like scalding hot and burns the coffee, or it's not hot enough. And then the handle on it wasn't that great. So I need to figure out a better camping coffee solution. For when we're out, I was just taking the percolator and putting it on top of our camping stove and doing that. And I tried 3 different mornings and it was like, okay, still couldn't dial it in. It wasn't as good as I remember some of the old percolators being. So I think I just maybe invested in a little bit nicer of a percolator, probably than the $12 Walmart special Ozark Trail percolator.
That's what I bought. And it actually, stovetop works great.
Yours works good?
I just on the
okay,
stovetop.
So it's just me. Because I was wondering, I'm like, is this the thing or is it me? I had to figure it out.
$16 Amazon special.
Yeah.
Not one of the things they announced. We'll be talking about that announcement here towards the end of the show. But it was it actually, Mike, I thought it was going to melt at the very first. It was so thin, the the metal was so thin. I thought literally it was just going to melt when I put it on the stove. I've made hundreds of pots of coffee in that thing now, and it just kind of works. It's flavored all in. It's super delicious. I want to drink some coffee right now. Aaron, iced coffee super popular. Is there a way with Nespresso to do iced coffee as well?
You can. There's a couple of roasts that they've put out that are designed to be made with ice. So I mean, you're really just making your espresso over a glass full of ice, and then it's kind of melting and watering it down. But that's what that coffee is roasted for. So you can do that.
There's one called chocolate fudge. I gotta. Have you tried this one yet? I gotta bring it up because
I do not do flavored coffees.
Okay,
I cannot.
This is an area they have really been pumping lately. This is new to them. They kind of, they were doing just the regular coffees, but now they have. So I bought some. I haven't tried them yet, but if you're into frou-frou, is from coffees, right? if you're like,
if you're going to Starbucks.
Yeah, some folks are, and they were I think this was a knock on Nespresso for a long time. Mike, is that what do you think?
Family? My wife goes to Starbucks a lot. So Jimmy, if you end up liking this, I've got 3 boxes of this for you because we weren't a big fan. We both tried one and we were not big fans. Now, I'm not a flavored coffee person either. So it didn't surprise me that I didn't like it. It surprised me that Hannah didn't like it. So if you like it, I've got a bunch for you because we ordered it and then we accidentally hit reorder, forgetting we had it in our old order. And so we got another box of it the next time. So I've got a bunch of those for you.
Okay. I have to let you know, I had to try it. I was like, okay. And I'm not a big flavored coffee guy either, but I'm a big chocolate fudge guy. Like I love chocolate fudge. So I thought, we'll
report back.
We'll have to give it a try. Couple of comments from the chat room. Brian Hour says, I'm just a Folgers breakfast blend. And by the way, don't hear us saying in this, like, you got to go this route. I just think this was an interesting, like, it has really become, an espresso has really become an interesting kitchen gadget. And it's one of those kinds of things, like, say, if you just want a cup of coffee, you can just throw that in there and do it. And it is better than instant for sure. But hey, everybody, you drink what you like. He drinks three or four. I make 20 cups at a time. Bust Out says my coffee is called soda, and for a lot of folks, that's their morning
caffeine.
Yeah,
Coca-Cola. I know plenty of people that drink a Coca-Cola for breakfast instead of coffee.
Tony says on his day off, a big old pot for me and my wife. And my wife has gotten into my coffee in the mornings. She used to not be a coffee drinker at all. And I find a cup missing from it before she sneaks out for work. She's perked her own now and then saved it, chilled it, taken it as kind of iced coffee
as cold brew.
Day. Yeah, as cold brew. It's not technically how you do cold brew, but I think that kind of works that way. Ken says Maxwell House. Listen, there's a lot of arguments around, do you go to Dunkin', Tim Horton, Waffle House, right? Right? Starbucks.
Good Tim Hortons shout out there. A man after my own Canadian heart.
Tim, I've only heard. I can't get to Canada right now, so I don't know.
No, you can't.
I can't.
Actually, no, you can now.
Oh, really? Is it open?
Yes. If you're vaccinated, it's open.
Okay. Well,
we can't drive to the U.S., but Americans can drive to Canada.
Something wrong about that. I'm not sure what it is, but there's just something.
I know
something wrong about that. McDonald's makes also a fairly decent, consistent cup of coffee. If you want to go that way, I don't know if I've ever had Burger King coffee, but there's all kinds of different ways. Aaron, it looked like you messed around a little bit with the froth thing, and for some folks I do enjoy good froth. Actually one of the things Nespresso does that I've never seen another coffee maker do is it makes coffee froth. So for almost every time you make it, there is probably a half an inch of froth. Mike's shaking his head. It's pretty delicious, right? I mean, isn't that the best part, is the froth, the coffee froth?
The crema.
Yeah.
Crema. Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty delicious. So, did you mess around with the different ways to make with milk or whatever cream?
I did. I tried. So after I sort of got myself oriented between, okay, what does the Virtuo do and what does the original do? I ordered a machine called the Latissima One, and thinking, normally I'm a black coffee, straight up espresso girl. I don't add anything. I will have the occasional cappuccino or latte if I'm out and about or, having coffee with a friend. But normally I'm not super interested in the milk. But I was really interested in this particular machine because it's a very slick looking machine. It's sleek. It matched my kitchen. I'm not going to lie. So I thought I really want to see what this can do. And, when the in-laws come over, for example, they like to have milk with their coffee. So I thought, oh, this will be, a really nice option for them. So I got this Latissima One machine thinking this is going to be the answer to my prayers because it'll heat the milk, steam the milk, froth the milk, and spit it into your cup all by itself. Except it doesn't really do either of those things.
Really?
It didn't. No. So it doesn't really heat the milk up very hot. I took some temperature measurements and I don't off the top of my head remember what they were. But to me, when I was drinking it, it was like tepid. It was like lukewarm milk. Oh. So you've got kind of hot coffee, lukewarm milk. It's not a good experience. And then the other thing it didn't really do is there's no foam on it. Like it's not foaming the milk. It's just kind of spitting out the milk into your cup. So I will drink a cappuccino. Like if I'm going to have something with milk, I really like a cappuccino because just a bit of milk, lots of the foam. Yes. And I'm a happy camper. Except this didn't do any foam. And I took some video for my YouTube channel of like the results of this foam. And there's just no foam to speak of. So I was really, really disappointed in this machine because, I can make lukewarm milk in the microwave. And that's kind of like what I felt I was getting out of this machine. The espressos were great. The machine looks fantastic, but you're paying extra for this milk service and it's subpar, in my opinion.
Well, especially when you can compare it to, so we have the Nespresso branded milk frother that's like the silver jug, whatever you want to call it, right? Sets on the pedestal and it has I love it because it has the different settings for, do you just want to warm the milk? Do you want warm and a little bit of froth? Do you want warm and a lot of froth? And there's all the different settings for it. And that thing is amazing. My wife is in love with it. I'm kind of like you. I'm just a black coffee drinker. That's all I really go for. Unless I'm having a cappuccino. And so we'll make those. And that Nespresso Cup Frother is fantastic and super easy to clean. It's actually just a little magnet spinner on the inside that froths it.
Okay.
So it doesn't, you just pull it and it doesn't, there's no like connection to the inside. So it's really easy to clean. It's fantastic. So yeah, maybe the solution is the regular Nespresso with their external milk frother compared to the one built in.
That's really good to know.
That's this one, Mike? Is that the one you have?
Mine's a few years old, but in general, it looks like that. Yeah, it's actually got a handle to it. Is there a difference?
The arrow.
Yeah, it's that top one right there.
This one right here?
Yes, that is it. That thing is fantastic. And then, like I said, so there it is. The 3 settings that you got. Works great.
Aaron, I use a version of this of just one I bought on Amazon that's very, very similar. It sits on a base. You put the plastic and you can get it comes with a couple different kinds. You can get one that just warms the milk and froths it a little bit. So it just kind of adds a little air to it. You can get the one that whips it for like if you want it for like a cappuccino, if you just wanted the milk to put on the top of cappuccino. And easy to clean. Pull the thing is just a magnet, pull that out, scrub the bottom, throw it back in the strainer, and it's clean. And I've
been debating trying that, so that's good to know.
This one's $50. I paid less than that. I think 20, maybe 22, or between 22 and 30, which is like $150 in Canada. But
exactly.
But this has been, and the really nice thing about this, you can do cold foaming too. So it won't, it'll just spin and keep it, so it'll add air to the milk or to the whatever you got in there, not heat it up. And then they're great for making hot chocolate. So if you want to throw the milk in, throw the chocolate in, and then warm it up and spin it, man, the grandkids love hot chocolate out of these kinds of frothers. So if you haven't tried them yet, you might try those and compare them to what you've already looked at. I found it. We did one where the top, it had the little frothing thing on the top, and then the bottom spun some things around, and it was just too much things to clean. Like,
Yeah, too
you
many
know,
small parts.
for every day, I was like, I don't want to clean this thing every day. I just want to pull this thing out, rinse it off, and toss it in the in the dish drainer, and be done with it. They both work pretty well. The big drawback to many of these is just the volume of them, and like you said, the heat. So you gotta, to get milk or whatever you're using, whatever milk substitute you're using, to get it to the right temperature, like the hot, you got to do it over time. You don't want milk to go instantly hot, right?
Yeah.
So you
Well, and
got
it's hard to do, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's
You
hard
gotta
to
be
get there.
patient.
To your point on alt milks, though, this poor Latissima One machine, Jim, would definitely not be for you because you can only use cow's milk in it, which I don't know if that's the situation with all of those Nespresso machines where it's actually built in, but it is not built to handle alternative milks. So this would be out for you anyway. And I feel like Mike's solution with that Aerochino frother for $50, I mean, that Latissima One machine is about $600 US. So, I mean, you could get a basic Nespresso espresso machine for like 150, 200 and still buy the frother and still be way ahead and getting a better product by the sounds of it.
Yeah, because are there any other features on that $600 model that besides the fact that it injects milk?
There's a bit of a bigger water tank. It'll hold a few more used pods. It's got a little movable pedestal if you want to use different size cups and stuff, but no.
Are there Nespressos that take a water line input yet? That's what I'm waiting for. I would easily tap
not that I've
the
seen.
water line. We are constantly filling that thing up with water. And I just feel like it's always at the most inopportune time when the kids are hanging all over you. And like, I can't fill this thing up right now.
And it's really early in the morning and you're like, I
coffee,
just
and kids yelling for
need
Cheerios.
caffeine.
And, it's such a first world problem. I don't want to fill up my water tank in my coffee maker. But at the same time, if I had a little water line adapter, that thing would be
you
perfect.
definitely, Keurig definitely has that.
I know they do.
Up.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They do.
Because they have it's almost like their commercial line, right? Like you see those
Right.
in office buildings, right? Where they're all connected to a water line and they work pretty well.
Aaron, we had an old school Mr. Coffee espresso maker with, so you would pack, you'd pack the grounds.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And then, put it in there. And then it had a frother that was steam driven and had the kind of the right nipple on it to be able to do it. And that thing worked really for as cheap as it was. Like good frothers they're on the $10,000 machines. Like Starbucks, like good ones.
And you need some measure of skill to be able to swirl the milk correctly to get the right amount of air and steam in there. Yeah. I was never able to do that with a manual machine. That's why I gave up and moved to an espresso.
Yeah. Well, it was a challenge. I got really good even on that really cheap Mr. Coffee one. I got really good at making at least the froth I wanted to make. But it does take a little attention and you got to kind of do it slowly and it's like when you're cooking, a brisket, it's about the temperature, right? Temperature matters. And if you go to Starbucks, you'll see they've got a temperature gauge in it as they're frothing to make sure they get it just to the right temperature. So there's some tricks into that as well. I think a really good opportunity here is we think about kitchen gadgets. This is one for some folks to consider and kind of what they're doing with their coffee. But Ken asked a great question. Yeah. But with van life, what do you do out there, Aaron? I mean, how are you making coffee when you're out there cruising on the road?
Great question, Ken. We have in our new van that we put in a propane stove, just a 2-burner small stove. And the tank that's basically underneath the van is kind of an oversized barbecue tank. So we've got lots of fuel. I just have a really small little kettle that holds kind of enough for 2 cups and I'll boil that up on the stove. And then I do pour over in the van. My husband and I are negotiating over whether we think the smaller espresso only machine I have would either blow the electrical system or just drain the battery after one use. So we might get there and try it, but he's like, I also have a pump, hand pump driven Nespresso machine. It's not really a machine. It's like just kind of this plastic pod, and now I'm struggling to think of what the name of this gadget is. But you basically just pour. No, it's you pour boiling water into the bottom, and it's a perfectly measured single shot. You can either use an espresso pod or your own ground coffee, and then it's a pump system. So you manually will pump the machine and then press the release button, and it'll just make you a single shot of espresso. Oh, now I got to look this up.
Have you French pressed before? I mean, that's also another great way of French press to get coffee on the road, because you put the grounds in, pour the hot water on it, stir it up, wait 3 minutes or whatever, plunge that thing down. And have you done that before?
I have done it, and my husband loves French press, and I can't stand it. It's mainly because
I don't like. Is that what you're saying? It's all about you.
It is really. Yeah. You know what? I am the coffee drinker in the house. He will drink the coffee if it's made. If there's no coffee made, he's like, But I don't like the grit in there. I don't like the sediment that you can sometimes get, or the grit that will end up in it, and the residue in the bottom of the cup and stuff. That I want it like pristine cup of coffee, so I prefer the pour over method that way.
Okay, I actually kind of like the grit that comes. I know that's weird, but I kind of like the yeah, Mike, you're giving me a funny face. Like you're not into the grit. You're into the pure coffee.
Yeah, no, it was just funny because I matched what you said earlier about it, like matching your personality, right? Like I like the grit. I like the yeah.
The name of the product that I couldn't think of, gentlemen, is the Wakako Mini Presso portable espresso machine.
Yeah. And you like it? It works for you?
I do. It requires no power. I mean, you just have to have boiling water, which is easy enough to have at most campsites. And it's super small. It compacts itself down into something that's, not much bigger than it's smaller than a water bottle. So it's perfectly convenient.
It's sad to say I've been doing this long enough that the machine that I have is now retro modern, as they say. that launched that line of pods, but this is kind of the machine that I have. It's actually got water on one side and then a catch on the other for the pods. Aaron, one of the nice things about this, and some people have different views of recycling, whether it's working or not, but you can recycle these pods, and they encourage that. Here in the U.S., we get a UPS bag that we can put those into. If we can't put them in our recycle, I guess I could, but I don't. I send them back. Are you able to recycle those?
Yeah, Nespresso does. There's a Canadian program for recycling as well, and that I had some interesting conversations with people around recycling, because I reviewed the Keurig pods probably 3 years ago now. And at that time, they were not doing recycling. It's my understanding they do now with the plastics. But in our city's recycling program here in Calgary, anything that's kind of smaller than a fist is just not recyclable. It's too small for the system. So a lot of these companies like Nespresso or Keurig will tell you, it's recyclable plastic, it's recyclable aluminum, but they just get blown right out of the city's sorting machines. So you can put it in your city's recycling, but it's going straight into the landfill. So I do send them back. And we get the envelopes as well. And that ended up being one of the reasons why I kind of preferred Nespresso over Keurig, because at that time it was the only option, and I could feel a little better about sending them back.
Yeah, no, it's nice. Mike, I'm assuming you do the same thing, load them up in a bag and then just ship them back. You drop them off at UPS. They're like, do you want a receipt? And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Just deliver the thing. I don't care if it gets there or not.
Yeah,
right?
We actually have one of those UPS little drop boxes at the end of our neighborhood. So
nice.
It's perfect.
Oh,
I just on my way to work, throw it in there, done.
Bust Out wants to know in the chat room if I add gravy to my coffee grits. Not those kinds of grits, but I get it.
Jim, that is the only time. So like if we go through a drive-through and we get the wrong meal or they forget something, I'm like, you know what? Forget it. Like I'm not going back. It's not worth my time, right? Like I'm not going to circle back. I'm just going to forget it. But there have been 2 times where I've turned around in coffee because I'll take a sip or I'll get it and I'll get like coffee grounds in my mouth. And it's happened at scooters. It happens everywhere, right? Starbucks, all of them make that mistake. But But like that gets me going. Like, I don't know why that does, but it's like you can't ruin my morning coffee with a mouthful of coffee grits and grounds, and like you can't get it out of your mouth. It's the worst.
No.
Now I know that's
Like
not what you
wine
get from a
diamonds.
French
A mouthful
press,
of
right?
wine diamonds. Bleh.
Oh yes, yeah, yep.
I must be
No.
weird because I kind of like it.
Do you?
I
It's like a
do.
little snack along with the
do.
coffee.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
coffee
yeah.
and a snack. This is
You're
great.
like, oh, okay. Oh, it's
A little
gone.
something extra.
Yeah, you're like, okay. I mean, listen. I don't pour the grounds into my cup, right? But
Right.
with perking, you kind of run that danger a little bit of getting
Mhm.
some of the grounds in there, and you get some of that. You get a little. You do get a little ground dust as part of it too, and it, and I like it. It's flavorful. I don't know. So
You
I
know, it's
mean,
funny. There's
Well,
actually a
all
company
right.
that was
it's not a-
started. There was a company that was started from a guy who was just like you, Jim. So there was a baseball player who he used to use chewing tobacco when he was trying to quit. And then he found out that when he was trying to study, he was in college, trying to study late, he would end up putting coffee grounds in his lip instead of chewing tobacco as a replacement, and the caffeine would keep him up.
Ah.
And then he figured out, okay, well, having them all loose and stuff didn't work out for us. So he put them in pouches, just like you can do with chewing tobacco. And that is they now sell everywhere as a replacement. People who are trying to quit chewing tobacco, it's called grinds. And it's like grinds and it's coffee pouches. So it's marketed as energy and everything like that. But that baseball player who he kind of liked that grittiness too. And now it's a big national company all over. It's Grinds Coffee. So if you like the taste of coffee, you can just put a coffee pouch in your mouth and you almost just like suck on a pouch of coffee grinds. And then that's it. And you get a little energy and it's a whole company.
I learned something today.
I do love the smell of just fresh ground coffee. Like there is something about pulling that out. You grind it up and just pull that out, and it's just delightful. We one of the listeners from Ask the Podcast Coach on Saturday mornings that I do sent me a bag of Island coffee, EILAND, from Richardson, Texas. Chris sent that to me, and he goes like, "What do you like?" I'm like, "Just send me your favorite roast." And they kind of specialize in the roast itself and the way they do the roast. And like it was so different than grocery store, and I don't mind grocery store coffee. I mean, I'll drink it, but holy cow, to get and I think it was $16 or $17 a bag. So a little more than you would normally, probably twice as much as what you'd pay, but man, well worth it. That was the one where you open the bag and I just sat there for a while. God, this smells good.
So good.
I know. It smells. What is it? Well, all of a sudden I want a cup of coffee. So with that, we'll say goodbye. No. It's like, man, I need some coffee now. Grrr, you hear it grinding on the on my desk.
In the background.
Let's see. I don't know. Aaron, anything else on your coffee journey that you've discovered, or any other advice you dispense if someone was thinking about kind of changing up, because as we're coming out of the pandemic, and eventually we will come out of this. Like, I know we've been saying this for forever.
For 2 years. Yeah.
Right. Let me encourage, as a listener, if you're listening to this right now, do something different. Like for me, changing to perk was that kind of opened up a whole new world of things for what I was doing. And it changed my Nespresso habits a little bit and actually encouraged me to try some different flavors with the Nespresso. And I have one of those at work as well. And so I wasn't going in as often, and it was easier to get good, because at work they stopped making the coffee for a while. Like it was like bring your own in, and so I could make it in the Nespresso. Anything else, Aaron, that you might have picked up as you were reviewing these coffee makers?
Well, I order my coffee from California whenever I travel, because there's a cafe in Los Angeles that might have expanded since then, but it's called Earth Cafe. And it's the best coffee I've ever had, to the point where I think I've been ordering from there for 10 or 12 years. Anytime I'm down in the States or in California, I order like a huge 5-pound bag and I bring it home, and, Border Services is always like, sure, it's a giant bag of coffee. Let's run it through the X-ray machine. But they have this roast called Manhattan Mud. And it's so like, it's not bitter. It's just like rich and dark. And I love a really dark roast. So you guys are lucky to live in America where you can order Earth Cafe directly to your home. Getting it shipped here to Canada is very expensive, and they hold it up at the border. So that's my last coffee pro tip to your audience today.
I think it matters. They're finding lumber in it now, so no, lumber's got cheaper. I did go buy some. We're finishing a section of the deck and wasn't anticipating it, so I needed to get a few more boards. And lumber prices are kind of back to normal, which was kind of nice. I was, I bought 3-4 pieces. It was $30, and I was like, that'd have been one of these boards just 4 or 5 months ago. And so it seems like we're getting back. Speaking of getting back, so Amazon has made some announcements. Aaron, you got to be a part of it. It sounded like it was maybe not your typical, or maybe it was your typical Amazon announcement day, but tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, I got to attend my first virtual Amazon product announcement just a couple days ago. And I have to say, I was blown away. I did not expect that much stuff to be announced in one media conference. It was like the hits just kept on coming. They announced, a new Amazon Echo Show 15. And I was like, wow, that's pretty big. That's going to be really cool. They led with the big story. This is great. Until they announced the new flying indoor drone. And I'm like, what? And then they move on to the automated rolling robot. So they've got this Astro robot. And then they announced a partnership with Disney. They announced a bunch of stuff for kids. Just every 5 minutes, the news conference would pivot and there'd be another new product. And I was like, wow, this is way more stuff than Apple has ever announced when I've watched their product announcements. And some really, really, really cool stuff that I am going to be dying to get my hands on.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out this Astro household robot. I'm trying to figure it out. But it's like, if you haven't seen it and you're listening to the audio, you got to go to Amazon.com and just put Astro, and it's the first thing that pops up. It's a home security robot, but it's kind of creepy looking to me. I don't know, Aaron, what do you think?
Oh, I thought he was cute. He's got a little square head on kind of this little round rolling body with these sort of flat wheels. And in the demo they showed at the news conference, he'll just kind of roll silently around your house. And he's got this, not in the picture you're showing us now, Jim, but in the news conference, he had a very happy, charming looking face. He looks very friendly. And what they said they've done with this is it's designed to be kind of part home security robot, part Alexa on wheels, but it's going to have its own personality. So they're not just sort of sticking Alexa on 2 wheels and sending her around. This robot's going to have its own personality. And the little screen that sort of forms the face, I guess, is on a telescoping neck. So you can actually raise the camera up. So one of the examples they gave during the news conference was do you want to check if your curling iron's on or you left the stove on? And the head just pops up to above counter level and takes a look for you. And because it's got a camera in it, it can show you exactly what's going on. So, did I leave my laptop on the kitchen counter? Are my keys on, the dresser? You can send the robot around your house and go and take a look. And I thought it was pretty cool.
If this thing can babysit my kids, that's when, okay, don't worry. Right. This thing will be there for you. That's pretty interesting though. I don't know. I got to go watch the video because I'm kind of like Jim. I'm kind of curious. Okay, what is the use case? Because $1,000, unlike a lot of the other Amazon products that are insanely cheap, especially on Amazon Prime Day, right? That's a hefty investment. That's got to be worth it.
Yep. Well, I mean, completely autonomous robot that is supposed to learn your space, be able to navigate. You can drive it around, or it can sort of go, from what I understand, on a preset path. That's kind of appealing. I bet it can't climb stairs, but there's the telescoping neck. You're seeing it now.
Or watching
and
watching the video.
It's so smart. Like it's very versatile. I mean, the last Echo Show, the Echo Show 10 that they announced, I guess about last year at this time. I mean, that first introduced motion to these devices. And that's been a limitation of things, right? Like they've got cameras in them and they've got screens, but if you're on the other side of the screen or across the kitchen, you can't see it. So they introduced this sort of 360-degree swiveling Amazon Echo Show 10, which is really helpful. And it's got a camera in it, so you can actually use it to pan across your space and act as a security camera. But the trouble is the camera doesn't pivot very well on it. Well, it doesn't pivot at all, actually. So if you have the screen kind of angled for you to watch videos, when you turn it on to view a security camera, it's really only going to see kind of up and behind you, as opposed to what's the dog doing down on the floor. You can't take a look. So this is sort of that next iteration of what's going on in my house. Where are the kids? What has the dog done? And, I got an alert that my door sensor or my window sensor opened. Can the robot go over and take a look?
Mm-hmm. That would make sense. We're watching the video here, sharing it now. Watch what we don't have the sound on, but I'm pretty sure the robot is judging this guy for eating the ice cream. I'm pretty sure that's what just happened. That's what, like, I need a judgy robot that at 9:30, when I've got a thing of ice cream in my hand, rolls over to me, takes those little eyes that are on there that are kind of a little creepy, just saying, and then they turn into judgment eyes, like, Jim, we've talked about this.
Like a personal trainer robot, Jim.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what you want.
I wonder if you can train it to do that.
Maybe he can put a workout video on his little face and be like, all right, Jim, snap to it. Let's go.
Like, come on, get up. Because my watch already judges me. Like, hey, it's been a while since you've actually moved. You might want to move. Like, I know you've been awake a while. You might want to move. The Show 15, which I'm assuming is just a gigantic screen. Anything different about that? Was it the 10 that was on the base?
Yes, the swiveling base.
So what's the difference between the 15 and the 10 then?
So the 15 is, because Amazon does this, the number refers to the size. So it's a 15-inch screen. You can mount it either horizontally or vertically. And it has what they're now calling, maybe not creatively, widgets that you can put on the screen. So depending on what you want to see on the screen, you can customize it. So if you want, your family calendar, maybe you want the weather, maybe you want sticky notes. Sticky notes are another new thing that they've added as part of this. There's also smart home control. So you can kind of configure it to be how you want. In a move that makes me think of the Samsung Frame TV, they've also added this photo frame element where if you just want it to sort of blend into your space and not look like tech or be obtrusive, you can just play photos and, nice looking screensavers and stuff. But this, if anybody out there has seen the Samsung, I think it's called the Family Hub refrigerator or the Smart Hub stuff that they've got, where it's this sort of family portal where it's everything you need to know about your day in one screen. That's what Amazon's trying to do with this. And it's meant to be wall mounted. You can get a stand for it. It doesn't move, but it's sort of meant to be, it's almost like they're trying to bridge the gap between a TV and something like the Show 10, where it's just, does anybody out there still put like the calendar up on the wall in your family home and you write the stuff down on it? And it's paper and it's got a prominent place in your kitchen. Yep. This is like that, only digital. They want you to get rid of the calendar off the wall and just go with the Amazon ecosystem.
I could be convinced, I think, of that too. But, because Hannah and I have been trying to find a good solution for that. She's always been a paper and pencil person. I've always been digital. With a family calendar, we've gone paper, we've done digital, we've gone back and forth on all of those. But having something that's a good form factor for that, because Jim, remember when you were doing like the touch screen in the kitchen with the kangaroo?
Yeah,
right. Like that was something we were even considering doing. But like having something with that form factor. Now, if it could tie into Home Assistant, that would really be even that much better. I wonder if it's open source, you could hack it. I don't know.
Mike's already thinking about mods.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Aaron, I'm thinking you've been reviewing vacuum cleaners as well, and I'm kind of stuck. Like iRobot announced this $30 a month kind of subscription. You get the best. You get one of their best vacuum cleaners. You know, that's the one that goes to the tower and it cleans itself out. And you
Yeah.
get all the supplies that you need. $30 a month, 3-year commitment to it. I think they retail it at like $8 or $8.50 or something like that here in US. So you're paying, 30 times, 36 over the 3 years. You're paying a little more for that. You're getting some, they cover if it breaks, they cover all the parts, some of those kinds of things. I'm really tempted. Like I hate vacuuming now. And I'm just saying that because I want a robot vacuum cleaner. But as we think about what you've looked at, and I think you recently looked at an iRobot, do you think it's worth going a subscription model on those, or do I buy them outright?
That's a tough one. I mean, does the subscription model include, an upgrade every couple of years?
Yeah, so every 3 years, then you can
3 years?
They'll give you an upgrade. Yeah, because I don't think they'd last more than 3 years. Just to be honest with you, like, I've had an Auric for I think we're on our 12th year or 13th or 14th year of this Auric. That back in the day when they built those things to actually last for a while, it had a 10-year or 20-year warranty, something like that on it.
Yeah.
Now I just feel like this tech stuff, you buy it and man, you're lucky if you get 2 years out of it before it just kind of stops working or whatever. So anyways, every 3 years. Yes.
That's not bad because I feel like a lot of people wouldn't, some people might be inclined to get a new phone every year. But I feel like you don't need, nor would you be inclined to get a new robot vacuum every year. So maybe every 3 to 5 years, that might make sense. So that could be worth it. I can't do the math that quickly in my head at $30 a month times 36 months. If it's
about $1,000, a little over,
So, but then you get to trade it in and keep paying the $30 a month and get a new vacuum. Yep. So that's not bad.
And supply. So they
and the supplies too. Yeah. So that's
those kinds of things.
That's certainly interesting to explore.
Yeah.
I've had both the newer iRobot models, the i7, I think, and the 7 and the 9, the S9 Plus. And I've had them for probably about 4 years now. They were the last new robots that iRobot announced before the new one that they just brought out, which is called the J7 Plus. And they've been great for me. I've found them to be really durable. They've been long lasting. I haven't had issues with them. At most, I've had to replace the rollers because if you get like carpet fibers stuck in there or string and you don't get it out enough, it'll eventually sort of cut through the rubber of the rollers. But their products are pretty good. I was actually really excited to hear that they had announced a new robot. I thought for sure it was going to be a mop and a vacuum in one, and it wasn't. And that absolutely floored me because all of the new robot vacuums that come out now will do mopping and sweeping and vacuuming. So I was pretty shocked that iRobot hasn't gone in that direction. But there is some cool new technology in this one.
I do need a dual. Now that I say this, it does need to be able to mop. Like that's one of those kinds of things that would be really
It makes a huge difference.
I mean, I vacuum, but nobody wants to mop in our house. Like they just hate that job. It'd be great to set up. Brian mentioned that you said floored. Appreciate that. I loved in your review hazard recognition and poop avoidance. That's pretty. How does it do that?
I got to use the word poop in a review.
I know. I like it.
They've improved the mapping in this, the mapping and the object recognition. So there's some new smarts in this version of the robot. I mean, they've spent the last 5 years essentially improving on the last ones. So it's got a camera in the front of the robot now, which can do things like detect cords and cables. It can detect stray underwear on the floor. It can detect pet poop or accidents, and it will avoid them. And what it does is it'll tell you get kind of a push notification with a photo on this new one that says, hey, I recognized an object in the room. is this something that's going to be here all the time that I should know and avoid, or is this just something you forgot to pick up? Now, I'm not quoting the robot because it's not really that conversational, but you get the idea. And you can mark something as a permanent thing, like, oh yeah, we've run some cord or something there, or yes, my tower of underwear is now an art installation. And it'll avoid it all the time. Or you can say, oops, sorry, my bad. You know what? We've cleared it up. Go about your business for next time. So it's got a lot more smarts, and robots are getting way better at recognizing things that we humans do, and they're smart enough to now start avoiding them.
So you have the J version, 7J?
I do not yet. Okay. I am getting it probably in the next week or two. So I will definitely be putting it to the test in my house, and will report back fully.
All right. We'll have to. So my good buddy Ed Sullivan, who's a listener of the show, and I just spent a week with in Boston, keeps telling me, Jim, don't do the vacuum cleaning. You're gonna be disappointed. He's like, I just feel like it's just not gonna work for you. And
it's so good, Jim. It's so good.
Now, Aaron, Ed,
so good.
Ed loves it when you're on the show. This may change his opinion if you're trying to get
Ed.
I know. I'll have to figure out. Mike, any
can
thoughts?
Can I just talk to Ed for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
Ed, listen to me. You don't want to do the vacuuming. Nobody wants that. Does Ed have dogs? Does Ed have pets?
He has a dog that sheds. In fact, I brought some of the dog home
Ed,
with me.
Come on, buddy.
I know.
You need this.
I'm not sure.
We have 2 dogs, and it is a game changer for dog hair tumbleweeds in the house.
Man, I am not sure that Milo, his dog, sheds a lot. And it's like that thing would just be full all the time. Like he would be changing. He'd literally be changing.
That's why you got to get the auto emptying base. Yeah. It'll clean it out for you every time. You don't even have to worry about it.
Talking about he'd fill that thing up pretty quick. I mean, just the. Well, I am tempted. What I might do is just buy a inexpensive, a $200 or $300 robot vacuum, and just try it, kind of in the environment.
Live with it
for a while, and just see how it goes. It would get banished to the basement level, and then the good one would go upstairs, basically for it. I think someone was telling me that Dyson has one coming out that will climb stairs. So like all of a sudden you're like, Mike, you're shaking your head. Have you seen something like that, or have you heard about that?
Well, I know that's been like the point that people have been waiting for, right? Is because it reminds me of those robot lawnmowers where it's, well, what do I do with a fence? Right? Like, how do I, like, there's just the thing of there's 2 sections. Do you get 2? You got to move it. Like, how do you get around that? I would love one of these things. I really wish I could use one now. It's just that with my boys, the age they are, there's so much stuff on the floor. It wouldn't even be able to get around. It would try and get out of its little area and be like, nope, I'm going back to charge. Like, I'm not even going to try to attempt it. There's just toys and clothes. These kids are just, they have it everywhere. But as soon as these kids get a little bit older, it's one of the first things we're buying, because we also hate vacuuming. And actually, our house is perfect for it because we live in a ranch style. Once the basement's finished, we'll have to change that up. But right now, it's just one main living floor. The basement's unfinished.
Yeah. Well, you're in that spot, Mike, where you're like, do I get 2 vacuum? Like I need the basement covered. I still, we're down here a lot, and our house isn't that big. I think, Aaron, part of Ed's concern, I don't have a lot of square footage, and it's actually probably easier to just do it myself. It's one of those kinds of things, like when I do the vacuuming here, and it is a 30-45 minute deal to get the whole house. It doesn't take that long, right? And because our house is smaller, we've got like the dining room is taken up with all the chairs. That robot vacuum cleaner would not be able to get around those chairs.
Oh, but they can. They recognize where they are. They will map what you got going on. And
you're not giving up. I like this. Keep going.
No, you know what? I'm a convert, because initially I was like, same as you, same as Ed. I was like, I can do this stuff myself. I don't need this. But the fact that it'll do geolocation, so it'll recognize, if you want to set it up this way, it'll recognize when you leave the house, and it'll do the vacuuming while you're gone. So, you don't even have to be there. you can schedule it. So, I mean, I work at home now, but when I was going to the office, I had it set up so that, half an hour after I left every morning, it would go around and just vacuum up the entire house. And it makes such a difference.
No worries there. No worries on the dogs. It's post pandemic. We're all used to that by now. So no worries. Well, I'm still thinking about it. It is one of those things that I'd like to. Every time it's like $30, and I'm like, well, I should just pull the trigger on the thing, and
Can you cancel at any time?
That's a good question. I think
that is
can.
a good question.
I think you can. I don't think you're.
Well,
I don't know.
You probably just have to send the vacuum back if it's less than,
for sure.
12, 24 months or whatever, right?
No, for sure. Aaron, anything else out of that Amazon announcement that tripped your trigger, or anything that was interesting from a gadget perspective?
I did think it was really interesting. It's not so much a gadget perspective, but it shows me the direction companies like Amazon are going in. They announced this partnership with Disney, where they're essentially going to create a Disney version of Alexa. So it's called Hey Disney, and it uses the Disney characters, the Disney voices, and they've sort of done this B2B, business to business partnership where they're going to put Alexa devices in all the hotel rooms and all the Disney resorts. And then you can talk to Hey Disney and ask for directions to the park. You can ask what time tickets go on sale. So they're really being smart and strategic because, I've stayed in hotels, and it's my habit to get up in the morning and ask Google what the temperature is outside before I go outside. And I miss that. And I'm like, I'll catch myself being like, hey, no, Google's not here. So when you get that smarts now into the hospitality industry, if it's customizable, which is what Amazon is going to do with it, my dogs.
It's okay.
If it's customizable for what you're doing and you can adapt it to each individual hotel property, it's going to be huge for a lot of businesses.
Yeah. I'm not a big. I don't need another wake word. I do not want to, and I don't want Mickey Mouse telling me what the weather is. I just am not. I'm not. I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to kind of see how that goes with that. It seems a little. I don't know. It seems like Mike, you got kids. Maybe this would be something better for the kids to use and get those kinds of prompts and voices.
Maybe. I don't know. We are a huge Disney family. And for like Disney Plus is usually on one of the TVs all the time for our kids. But yeah, I don't know about that one. I've been really impressed though, Jim. The one thing that I was going to mention along the Amazon line is they also just launched, and I don't know if this is their first game. It's probably their first big game. So they launched New World. So New World is from Amazon. So they make their own video games now too. It's a computer game, massive multiplayer online game. MMO, I think is what they call it, is what the cool kids call it. And they just launched that 2 days ago, and it has been getting rave reviews, just huge. Like Amazon, all of a sudden, just multiple markets, different product lines that we didn't think they'd be getting into. Just a lot of really interesting stuff on the Amazon front.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be Christmas, right? I mean, Aaron, we've always had you on to kind of get some Christmas picks, as we kind of think about the things that are coming up around Christmas time. This kind of loads up our plate on options as we think about what's going to be available. Maybe $1,000 robot isn't in the right price range, but I think that Show 15 was $250. So, I don't know, Aaron, do you have anything on your Christmas list that you're hoping for as we get there? As we think it's not too early to start thinking about it.
Maybe more coffee machines. There's other Philips has a bunch of new they're more manual machines than anything that I would love to try. You pour actual beans in and it'll do sort of more of a traditional manual extraction method. So I think it's the Philips Latte Go 5400 or something that I would really love to get my hands on. And then Amazon also announced Amazon Halo View. Halo is their Fitbit version of Fitbit, which has been a smart fitness tracker band. The original Halo didn't have a screen. It was kind of this creepy, just band thing that tracked you. But the new version has a screen. And I'm not going to lie, it looks a lot like a Fitbit Charge 5. So I'd like to get my hands on that. I've not had any experience with the whole Amazon fitness ecosystem. So I'd love to try that out as well. And what else? I'm always up for cool headphones. I want to get my hands on some Bose Quiet Comfort big over ear cans and try those out as well.
All right, Mike, got any Christmas items you're kind of thinking about that you're hoping Santa will bring?
I'm sure there's a few. They're all ham radio related. So yeah, a headset for ham radio. So when we go out we do the parks on the air, I would love to get, they're kind of like those broadcast announcer headsets. They make them for the radio so you can have all your hands free to do your logging and everything. Super, super interesting, I'm sure, to a lot of people.
We've quite a ham following here on the show.
I mean, so much so, like I said, when I was activating, someone said, hey, it's time. They responded back to me on the radio and said, hey, tell Jim it's time for him to get licensed. So there's a listener out there.
It's not going to happen. It's not even going to happen. I'm going to be really clear about this. If there's anything I have to study for, not interested. Not interested anymore. So
you got a perfect shack for it out in your backyard.
I do.
The shed. That's really what you.
I know
do.
the smoke shed. So yeah, it's super good. Aaron, thanks for. Can you stay around for a little bit of post show, or do the dogs need you?
I can for a little bit. Yeah.
Okay.
No.
All right. We'll have you hang out. I'm here. A couple reminders. One, I'm going to give a little update on some cameras. We'll roll through that first because I think Aaron, you'll find that interesting. And then maybe we'll let you drop. Mike and I are complaining about our local internet service provider. Cox Communication. So actually, I have a good story with it. So we'll spend some time in the post show doing that. A couple reminders before we go. Well, one, Aaron, thanks for just coming on. It's always great. It's great having you. I appreciate you coming out.
Thank you guys for the invitation. It's one of my favorite things to do. So thanks for having me back.
Yeah, you're one. You are our favorite guest. Let's just be really clear about that. So, a couple reminders. One, if you do need hosting, Maple Grove Partners, secure, reliable, high-speed hosting from people that you know and you trust. Of course, it's Christian. Inflation is happening everywhere in the world except at Maple Grove Partners. Plans still $10. That's $50 Canadian, but that will get you everything that you need to get a website going. And so check it out. And if you need that, maplegrovepartners.com. Tell them you heard it here on Home Gadget Geeks. And Christian will smile as he's setting it up. He appreciates that as well. Let's see, was there anything else I need to cover? We are live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, out here at the Average Guy.tv/live. We want to thank those who came out live. Don't forget, if you are a Patreon subscriber, we always appreciate that. If you want to become one and support the show, head out to the averageguy.tv/Patreon. You can get signed up there. We just got one $5 plan. It's super simple, and it's always appreciated. Maybe that push me over the top for a robot vacuum cleaner if you support us on then I can have buyer's regret after I get it. I'll be like, I don't know, Aaron talked me into this, and
blame me.
I will. We'll be back next week. We got a full slate of shows coming up, and I want to thank you guys for joining us live. If you're listening to the recorded version, you might want to head out to the live channel to catch the post show. With that, we'll say goodbye, everybody. All right, Aaron, here we go. So there's some camera. So the camera I've been working off of all night is a Logitech, and it's the Brio line, except they've taken the Brio name off of it in the packaging. So it's just a 4K Pro webcam, right? There's no Brio, except when you plug it in, it says Brio. So,
oops, we forgot that.
I don't think you changed the firmware on that thing, but 4K, 30 frames per second. 1080p at 60 frames per second. So it's a little step up from the C920. Works with, it's plug and play. It works really simple. Comes with they even give you a nice carrying bag with it. $200. So not the cheapest webcam in the world, but I've liked it. This is what I'm going to change to. For the last couple weeks, I've been working off my iPhone, which is pretty interesting. So let me bring that up. And so I've been using some slick little software, some Epoch Cam software to get that done. And now you're seeing here. Let me go big. Now I haven't adjusted the color or the lighting for this, so it looks a little bit different. But it's actually, I like the color on my iPhone better than I like the color
It's a little warmer.
Completely agree. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love the color on that one. Yep.
Yeah, let me. And
You look
this
a little
is-
more tanned and golden, a little more
Oh,
California
like-
Jim.
Yeah.
yeah, this is California Jim. Yeah, this washes it out a little bit. I would probably need to mess around with the settings.
That's Minnesota Jim.
Alexa, Alexa, turn off the studio lights. Let's see if she can. So this, even when I turn off the studio lights, it doesn't really, because I'm getting all this white. And actually, as I get closer to it, it gets a little bit better. Maybe not. So let's go back to the iPhone just so you can see that. Here we go. There. Yeah, and actually using eyeglasses, I can change. I always kind of bring the saturation down just a little bit so it doesn't look so. Alexa, turn on the studio lights. It's a little bit better with the lighting kind of in here, and it looks.
Oh, see, I like to turn the saturation back up. Yeah, I like it better back up.
Well,
I don't know. It's
it
personal preference kind of thing.
looks a little red to me. I look a little too orange.
It
This
does
way.
look a little red. Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of
The
like it
iPhone.
in that.
What kind of a rig have you got set up with the iPhone then? Like, how is
Yeah,
it connected, or what have you done?
Little FO2 something. It's just a camera. It's just a camera holder that's got the screw for the, and it's got a Manfrotto clamp that goes down to the desk and is holding that. And it's just sitting above my desk, and it gets really good. Like, I really like this, but I don't want to use my phone every time I'm doing a webcast. Like, it's, that there's inevitably, I'm trying to get into a website and it wants 2-factor, or I need to get something off my phone. I'm screwed. I can't get to my phone once we start the, and not only is the phone doing the video right now at this point, but it's also serving the internet connection, because I'll talk about that here in just a second. Now we go from this to the old standard, the old C920. Right now, we as podcasters have hailed this for years as this is the camera to get. Right? I mean, and it's just kind of funny, and it was a really good camera, but after looking at these, like,
Ooh,
isn't that like, yeah? Now again, not adjusted.
That's a C920.
Yeah, this is a C920. Yeah, this is the one I've been using.
Wow, that's crazy.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah, I don't know if it's focusing on
your face is so washed out.
Yeah,
the C920 is what I'm using right now.
Yeah,
so same camera.
It's just the lighting. I think it's just the lighting in this. Maybe, I don't know, Mike. It's that's just the difference in the lighting down here. Yeah. That I have versus what you're doing there. Maybe I need to work on the temperature of my lighting a little bit. Maybe it's too white, because I'm getting so much white lighting off of my monitors. Yeah. Because StreamYard doesn't support dark mode. and the Google Docs I use, I don't have in dark mode. So I'm getting all this white lighting. Here, let me see if I can darken this up for a second, and let me make this a lot smaller.
Jim, what you need while you're playing around with that is you need a studio light that gives you remote control on your phone, where you can adjust the color temperature and the brightness from your phone. Right, so you can dial in the white light, 5600 Kelvin, by the way, or you can go like nice and warm.
Oh, wow.
Dim it or brighten it, all from your phone. This is my newest toy.
Which one is that? What light is that?
It's called GVM, is the manufacturer. They sell on Amazon, and I'm not actually 100% sure of the actual model of the light, because I just got it like yesterday. But it's got Bluetooth control, app control, and I can do everything I want on the smartphone. And I got a softbox for it and a stand so that I can just, do what I need to. But like, loving this light because I can dial it in. This is always my problem as a video person, is if I'm near a window and I'm getting too much outdoor light, then the other lights I have don't work. If it's too bright in a space where I am, those lights can't compete, and there's no dimmer on them. There's no brightness option. So I've had this like all of maybe 24 hours, and I'm already loving it.
Yeah. Well, okay.
GVM.
here's some. This is kind of newly adjusted. I mean, this is at C920. Little not
Oh,
so.
that's better.
Yeah,
Yeah, lots
yeah.
better.
That's because I turned
Yeah.
off my studio lights. So I was and I dimmed some things around me to kind of get. This is the normal what you see, but it is kind of interesting. Like when you start looking at different cameras and different lighting settings, you start really noticing the different quality in them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And this one needs to be a little more that way. Yeah, there we go.
That's probably more consumer focused anyway, right, Jim? Because if you're using a camera like that, nobody aside from podcasters and YouTubers and whatnot has studio lights, and let's never mind 3 or 4 of them. So it makes sense that actually that camera is a little geared towards just using the ambient light available to make the best picture for you.
To make it out of it. But I think, Aaron, you've convinced me. Like like when I got these studio lights 6-7 years ago, it changed the game for me. And I used them for a lot of years, but then I started putting more and more monitors down here. And actually the monitors give me almost enough light. Like what you're seeing here is really just monitor light. I've turned off the studio lights. Well, but then when we flip back over to the iPhone and you get a little bit better, you get a little bit better camera in this. You get a lot better actually camera in this. Actually, that doesn't look as bad as I thought it was going to be without the lighting either here. I do like
it looks pretty good.
Is this, Jim, the front facing camera or the rear facing?
Rear facing camera.
Okay.
Yeah, rear facing. So
it's such a sharper image.
Yeah.
Right.
Like it should be.
It's
two cameras.
Right?
And and you just get better. You're getting more light in there. Again, I would turn the saturation probably down to that's more realistic.
Yeah. That's a little better.
That's
I like
good.
that.
Yeah. So, we'll go back here. We'll go back to the Brio then. And I think this is the keeper for, but I've got to readjust it kind of back. You got it. Well, no, I'm gonna have to do some.
But this is not everyday situation though either, right?
No,
like you're probably going to set it and leave it and not be switching back around. So
yeah, and so this one really does do a little bit better with the studio lights, and I could probably stand to do some temperature and brightness. Although I think my problem on this one now is the color temperature of the lights. So Aaron, what you're able to do, these are just too bright.
Yeah.
And so I probably need to go get some, and I probably could get away with some tunable lights, some tunable smart lights in these. Just put them in and then tune them.
And is there some extra processing? Because okay, I don't know, Aaron, if you see do you see his metal is freaking out in the background?
Yeah.
Is that
that's part of it. Yeah. Here's this is coming through eyeglasses, and so on the Mac, so I've got some processing happening with it.
Okay.
If we just did native. Let me switch that over here. Brio. This is the native, which isn't terrible.
I think that looks sharper.
Yeah.
In my, you know what I mean? I think the other one just adds a little bit of, I don't know, not blur.
You may be right.
It softens up the edges a little bit.
Bokeh portrait mode, is that what it's adding?
Right. Well, that's what I was going to say is I think, in my opinion, once you get up to the C920 level, I don't really see a difference along all of webcams until then you go to something like we were talking about the Sony ZV-E10, right? Where you start to get a mirrorless where that gives you some bokeh. So it gives you those good lenses that give you some background blur or something. I think a lot of these just tend to be your environment, right? Making the environment look good. I think a lot of them are pretty close to the same. Because what are we back on right now? This is the
Brio. This is the Logitech Brio, which I like.
The C920 real quick.
I like, yeah. Hold on.
Because I think I can tell a little bit of difference between the Brio.
This is the C920 native, by the way. This is native.
Really? Okay. Well, that's a huge difference.
It's amazing how many adjustments you can make with the iPhone, with the cameras, with your lighting. I mean, it just goes to show you that you almost need some smarts and expertise, right, to be able to dial it in for exactly your situation.
Yeah. See, the C920 doesn't like that much light.
It doesn't. You're right. That's interesting.
Yeah,
that's where that Brio does look a lot better.
And you switch that back to the Brio with the lights off, and I think this is okay too. Like I think if I came in like this, you probably wouldn't even notice. Now I think, Aaron, to your point, if I hold on. So I think if I turned on the studio lights, that warms things up. But if I could tune that, these are really, really white, these studio lights. If I could tune them down to more like your background
Soften
color.
them.
Yeah, soften them up a little bit.
Yeah.
I think we're getting there. So I think I'm going to go.
Ooh.
I'll probably just order some tunable bulbs that I can put in the in there, and then have the ability to kind of tune them that way till I get them. Because I do like this. This is good enough. I mean, it's tough. It's tough to beat the iPhone when you get in there, especially if I could tune this up. I mean, my face looks red now because you're so used to seeing it white, and it does kind of look red. So I would need to tune that up a little bit. But man, this camera is sharp. This
really
camera
sharp.
for the iPhone is sharp. So, I can't look at myself like this. It's too red. It just is like, yikes, that is too red. I do kind of like this. This is the kind of look I like for podcasting, and I think if I just tune the lighting a little bit, I think I'll be good to go. Aaron, thanks for hanging around and helping us with the camera. Mike and I'll complain about Cox. You don't have to be there.
You have educated me. I was glad to stick around for that because I've learned something now tonight.
Good. Well, I'm glad we can teach you something. You do such a great job of teaching us stuff all the time. So thanks for doing that.
Thanks, you guys.
All
well,
right.
thanks again for having me. It was so good to catch up with you.
See you, Aaron.
Yeah. We'll see you in the
See you
winter.
again soon.
All right.
You betcha.
Care. All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, I just about hit the leave, but we're saying goodbye. I almost hit.
Oh,
see you, Jim.
Well, we can go if we need to. You want to hear that?
No. I was just like, she was saying bye, and I about hit my red button. So
all right. So for the last couple of weeks, you've noticed that I keep locking up during the program, right? Video's bad. Tonight, it's only working because I'm using my iPhone as a hotspot, and I have, I get.
And it has been flawless the whole time.
Yeah, isn't that
wild?
Now, part of it is it's not being flooded with other network traffic from the house. Right. It's also not competing with network traffic from the neighborhood. Like, I am pretty sure no one's streaming like I'm streaming off the towers on their phone. I mean, I'm sure there's some of it going on, but not like home internet is right kind of thing. So just to be fair, just to compare apples to oranges, so I'm on a T-Mobile 5G network. They've actually put they've been trying to pursue me for, to get a 5G home device that you then becomes, and all of a sudden, tonight I'm kind of like, maybe that becomes it got mixed reviews among I think we had a couple people in the community do it. Maybe Bust Out was one of them. I can't remember. Didn't work as well. I forget. Maybe Joe was in that. I can't, or Tony. I can't remember. But man, after tonight, I'm thinking, like, if I'm on the T-Mobile network and it's streaming this well off of that, well, if I can't get Cox Communications to get their act together in my neighborhood, maybe that's where I go. So, you know how it goes. You warned me. I was going to get off the show last week and call him, and you warned me, like, okay, they're going to make you
reboot the router. Are you sure?
Reboot your modem. Try a different computer.
Yep.
Well, so over the weekend and the beginning of the week, I did all those things. Still locking up, still doing this crazy stuff. So yesterday, I finally like, okay, I better do something about it. So I spent most of the day with 3 techs in chat, trying to troubleshoot this thing, and it was the same thing, reboot. Okay, now, second guy, hey, I started with, like, I've rebooted everything, like, I've done it. Okay, done it. You got to do something different. We didn't get very far with guy number 2. Guy number 3 really started sending me stuff to test my modem with, and he's like, it's your modem for sure. And I'm like, I just bought it last year. He's like, I know, but it's your modem for sure. And he goes, let me get you a really good deal on one of the new panoramic gateway modems. That'll get you gigabit. I'll get it for you the same price as what you're paying for your internet right now. and we'll do it for a year. And then you can just get locked in. Well, like, how do you say no to gigabit at the same price?
Yeah,
Right?
seriously.
For a year?
Well, what were you at?
150.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I was paying,
great.
$90 at 150.
Yeah.
So not exactly. So I think it's 99. So maybe $10 more, but gigabit, $10 more. So they're like, okay, go to the store, pick it up. So I go at lunch. I head down to the store, pick up the new modem. He's like, do you want me to activate this right now? I'm like, no, don't cut off our internet yet. Like, let me get home. Okay. He sets up, actually super helpful at the store. Right. So it's kind of like an Apple experience. They kind of had their act together there at the store. I was super impressed. Yeah. I was super impressed. So, I get it home, plug it in, set it up. It activates quickly. Mike, literally in a minute, I am back on the internet working. Like, yeah, totally different. It's like when Sammy got her, she got that 13 today and she went from 8 to 13. You put the phones next to each other and they just
works.
They do magic. All of a sudden it works. She loves that phone, by the way. It's a good call. So, so I get it set up. I start doing some speed tests. Doesn't fix the problem. Like, same exact. So I talked to another person online. And actually, this time I called. So last night I called, said, hey, Nate. Yeah, I got Nate. Nate, I'm not you're sending a technician, right? So, these are the droids you're looking for. This is what I was like, you're sending me out a technician.
Yeah.
Because, well, I don't know how quickly I can do this. I have one tomorrow. Did you think I was going to say tonight? Like, it was tomorrow morning. Like, he's like, I could. So 3:00 today, Ramon shows up, and Ramon is awesome. And he is like asking me some questions. And I was like, look, Ramon, I've done everything. He's, oh yeah, no, totally. I got you. I read the notes. Like, I'm good. He goes, we're going to just start replacing cables. And so he first checks a few things, checks a few lines, checks inside the house. We do some things. I show him here on StreamYard where that meter pops up, meaning I'm not getting really good bandwidth. He's like, okay. So he cuts the, OPBD put a surge thing on it, a surge. So if we get struck by lightning, he's like, yeah, we do that now. So I'm going to cut that out because that causes problems. Rewires it. And then he's like, so we tested it. Now that didn't fix it. He goes, okay, I'm going to actually rewire it from the pole. I have never had a guy say, I'm going to do it to the pole. Goes, grabs his ladder, goes up there. And we're talking about, I still have some old CenturyLink or what used to be AT&T or whatever, right? Phone lines coming in. They've been there forever. I was like, man, I'd love to get rid of those. He goes, do you want to? It's like, yeah. He goes, snip, snip, snip. Snip, snip, snip. He's like, okay, I'll take him off. And he's like, I'm up on the pole. I'll just cut him off when I get up there. Like, I was like, are you supposed to do that? He goes, are you going to get phone service from CenturyLink? I was like, no. He's like, these things are 100 years old. Let's just get rid of them. So he takes all of that down, rewires from the pole to the house, tucks it all in. I mean, does like a pro install job, not like, let's just temporarily set this thing up. So we get in the house and I tested, it still doesn't work. And he's like, man, I am sorry. He goes, I'll tell you what, I'm going to schedule myself to come back tomorrow or Monday. And we're going to run the line in the house. And I said, well, I don't have that protection. He goes, no, I'm going to do that. Okay.
Wow.
All right, dude, like, sweet. He's like, and then he goes, and if that doesn't work, then I can escalate this up to the engineers to check the neighborhood. Like, okay, something more is wrong. We have a solid line all the way from Jim's internet to the pole.
Right.
And it's not working. And obviously, I mean, we've seen tonight that it is their problem. Like, I've been streaming all night off my phone.
Yeah.
No problems.
It's not your hardware.
It's not my equipment. Right. It's not my equipment. It's not the Mac. I even tried to go through the Mac directly to the modem. So I think they were going to try and come back tomorrow, but he couldn't get me until Monday. But so all weekend I'll need to do, I'll just use my phone for this kind of stuff. But gives me, I'm hoping we can get it fixed. And then we'll have to see how long I keep this gigabit. Like if well, first of all, if they can't fix it, I may just go T-Mobile. I may get a T-Mobile hotspot.
Well, especially because, I mean, if you know it works so well, the service coverage at your home, like that would never work in my house, right? I couldn't even have Verizon at my house, probably. Like in the basement here, it's not that great. So, but if you know it's good, like might as well.
Well, and this is on my phone sitting on top of my monitor in the basement.
Yeah.
I could, if I got a T-Mobile, I
put it upstairs.
I could put it upstairs and
I could wire you up a really good antenna, Jim.
Fine.
We could compete with your neighbor down the street.
Just smoking the neighborhood for 5G, just smoking it, Well, and like you said, Mike, when I got this panoramic gateway, it has a Cox hotspot
Wi-Fi
built into it. And of course, my neighborhood lit up with Cox Wi-Fi, right? And I was like, and I thought, oh, is that me? So I connected to it, then unplugged, and it disconnected. And I'm like, yep, that is me. And you're like, do I? Now I don't think I'm gonna have a ton of people connecting to that, but do I really want that? Like, do I really want that?
Well, my thing was it was Wi-Fi that was interfering with other bands, right? Like that's taking up spectrum, Wi-Fi spectrum, having those out there. So
Brian says, Jim, you need to use the line. You know who I am. I did say when they got here, I said, look, guys, I live stream for a living. Like that's what I do. It has to work. And I know most people are fine. You do the speed test. It's 15 seconds and you get great speed. I need sustained speed. Yeah. And like what's happening is it probably would go a minute or two and then it would lock up, or two, and then it would lock up. Right. And I was like, I can't have that. Like it's gotta work. I could even go back to 10, 10 up if it worked.
Right.
Now 30 is nice and gigabit down
30 is great.
Nice.
That's what I love. Yeah.
It's nice. I don't know if it's $130 nice.
If they had a 100 plan, that would be perfect for me.
Yes. Yeah.
I would take that.
I take 50-50. Like I don't.
Yeah. I have to download a lot of games, which would take forever. So like 100's
right on.
Good.
Yeah. What would be great is a gig, 100. 1,000,
symmetrical?
100. No, 1,000,
yeah,
1,000, 100. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be pretty great. So, Joe says his cable companies are pretty universally bad, it seems. Yeah, you know what? Cox Communications is as good as the technician. Like, and if you get a really good technician, pre-pandemic, I was having all kinds of problems and I had a guy straighten that out. And for a year, my internet was just fine. They've been rolling out upgrades, and this is what I'm afraid of. They've been rolling out upgrades, and I'm afraid they got a hold of a bad upgrade or something. And so the network device, the smart device that's throttling the neighborhood is not working right. So when it senses a line is getting saturated, it closes it down too quickly and too far, and not down. Hey, I don't know. You restrict me. You can restrict it a little bit if you think I'm going to saturate the entire neighborhood, but you can't take it to zero. Yeah. You can't, like, you got to give me some bandwidth here.
Right.
So I think there's an upgrade that's gone awry with it. So hopefully this week they'll have some things figured out, and by this time next week I'll be back at least, and I don't know. I guess I hadn't even thought about this today. Maybe I'll give T-Mobile a serious look and say, well, maybe it's time to ditch the cable and go 5G. And that has all its own problems, by the way.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
All its own problems. So,
well, because I think you would have, not that you do, you don't punch anything through and do port forwarding for anything anymore, do you?
No, not really.
Yeah, because I think you'd be behind carrier grade NAT. You probably wouldn't be able to do it.
Oh, That's true. That's true. So,
But
guys, thanks for coming out. Sammy will be back here. I don't know. I'll probably have her on 5 or 6 weeks from now. She's got that. We'll talk a little bit about the upgrade to 13 from 8 to 13 for her.
That's a big jump.
It is a big jump. Yeah, she was like, "Where's the home button or whatever?"
Yeah.
I made that jump from 8 to 12. 13 to 8 is a pretty big jump, and then of course she's on iOS 15. So she'll come on. She's been vlogging, so we're going to talk a little bit about. She's starting to get some of those things done. Been using that camera that I bought for her, so it'll be fun to have her back on. Mike, if you can stay for 1 minute, I got something for you. Thanks, guys, for coming out. And we will see you guys next week. Take care, guys. See you.